Hi, kitty cats. I am Amethyst Herrick, your hostess for Gender Identity Weekly, a weekly discussion about identity and gender from the contributors and guests of the Purple Pop Publications website, genderidentitytoday.com. This content right here is brought to you by subscribers of genderidentitytoday.com. If you're already a subscriber, first of all, let me thank you for your ongoing support. Because you've been a subscriber, you know pretty dang well that subscribers not only receive new content directly to their email inboxes as soon as it publishes, but are also able to interact with every contributor directly, which includes me. So if you ever wanted to send me a mean comment, that's the way to do it. Pay me first, send me mean comments. If you would like to support shows just like this one, as well as other podcasts, videos, and written articles by our contributors, I hope you will consider subscribing using the links you're going to find down there in the show notes. Well, I am very, very excited to welcome my guest this week, Pepper Cat. Hello, Pepper.
Hi.
Hi. So Pepper is a former news producer turned adult entertainer and podcast hostess. What I like about you, Pepper, so much of what she does is help men explore their fantasies without judgment, which is kind of a good idea, because in so doing, you challenge social norms and the need for that all of us feel to conform, which is kind of a big thing to me. So I'd love to hear just a bit of like your origin story. You started off as a news producer. What caused this shift from producing like objective news stories to addressing like sexual taboos in Western society?
Yeah, so I actually started off as a news producer for local news stations. I did it for about 3 years. I produced night news, morning news, and
Cool.
lifestyle. It was an interesting job. I didn't get paid much for my work, and it was great while it lasted, but I didn't enjoy reporting on the negative parts of society all the time and not getting paid for it, and just working and not getting paid for my work. And so I wanted to explore a different part of media, because what I do now as an adult entertainer is really similar as to what I did as a producer. I just produce porn and I don't produce news. It's very similar right now.
Okay.
And so right now I do camming, phone work, cam work, as well as my Design Your Dreamgirl, which I started Design Your Dreamgirl to allow a customized and safe place for men to explore themselves sexually and not feel like they are that they should be shameful for their desires. And it's just a safe place to be fully human in a way that you can't always express elsewhere.
Right. Mm-hmm. I've got a question. I hope this doesn't come across as kind of nasty.
Oh, no worries.
Presumably you've noticed men do run most of the world, right? Mm-hmm. Is it necessary for Western society to indulge these fantasies even more? Or do we gain something out of that? Like what do we gain out of that?
Yeah. Well, fantasies are on a spectrum. There's vanilla, and then there's super extreme fantasies as well. I think that it's not okay to suppress or not even talk about fantasies, because what I find is that I get a lot of customers who don't have outlets to even acknowledge that they have fantasies. Yeah. And then you see it played out in other ways where it's non-consensual, or that people just don't even talk about it.
I see.
At all.
Yeah. Do you think that by giving men this outlet that you'll reduce the amount of sexual assault against women, violence in general, improve Western society as a whole?
I think people who act out sexual assault and violate others, I think they would do it with or without sex work. But I do think that aside, I think acknowledging sexuality and your desires does allow for open communication about something that's typically taboo, and it makes
Yeah.
people more comfortable about talking about sex and what that looks like
Right.
as well.
Right. Well, and I mean, in Western society has such a weird relationship with sex, right? I mean, there's I mean, if we were just to look at Christianity, right, there's the go forth and multiply. I think I'm misquoting, which is fine. Not a Christian, so it's cool. But,
I'm not either.
right? So we're supposed to multiply, but then, humans, or Christians anyway, are so like dead set against sex, where it's, yes, you have to have children, but don't do it having sex because that's probably a bad idea. So I'm curious. Let me just transition that into an actual topic. Like, why do you think we are so tied to social norms like that, especially around sex?
I think it feels safe. I think it makes people feel more comfortable with what they knew, or what they know. And I think because we don't talk about it as much, it feels safer to not even acknowledge it. But if you grow up in a space where you're comfortable, or you grow up in another country where it's not taboo, then it's not an uncomfortable topic. So I think it just makes people feel more safe and comfortable, as opposed to talking about something that's typically swept under the rug, especially here in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the U.S. was founded by Puritans, right? Because I mean, it's crazy to think, even like in the UK, right? They have, there's page 3 girls. I mean, it's just sort of a thing. You're going to see a topless
Right.
woman on whatever. I think it's Thursdays. I can't think of what day it was, but and like that's just sort of normal. It's like, oh yeah, sure. People have sex. People want to look at boobs. But here in the U.S., even in the U.S., there are people like clutching their pearls. What? Wait a minute, there are bare breasts in a magazine? Yeah. Don't people have breasts? I mean, what?
Right.
Why would we want to hide these things? Shoot, that was supposed to transition into something that I've totally forgotten why. I don't know. The U.S., though, in particular, seems very pent up about this. Out of curiosity, do you ever get clients from out of the country?
Oh yeah. I get a lot of customers from the UK. They're typically open about it. The men from the US, some of them are open, and then some of them are a little shy.
Yeah.
And then I'll get people even from the Middle East, even though I don't know how they find me in certain countries, or it's not allowed.
Right.
They find me, or India. I get them from all over.
Interesting. Okay.
All over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you have a background in psychology. So now I'm going to pull it out, right? Or now I want you to pull it out. Because a lot of Western, so I don't, incidentally. So when I screw this up, please correct me. But I know a lot of so Freud obviously was a big foundation for a lot of more recent psychotherapy. And I know Jung was a student of Freud's, although they diverged, I know, at some point. Do you think that we can blame, to a certain extent, like what's going on in terms of sex, and our need to stick it into a taboo? Do you think we can blame that all just right on Sigmund Freud, and then we move away and hope we can get past it? Was it Freud that really messed things up for us?
I don't know if I can answer that question.
That's fine.
It was a long time ago.
Well, sure.
But I mean, I think in terms of what I think that the people who have created theories come it does. It comes from their own personal bias or
Sure.
what contributes to what they believe, and I think that looks different now in the world that we live in now, and a lot of those influences are based on what was versus the future and looking ahead of what
Yeah.
sexuality and views look like as we progress as a society. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Things have changed because it's been, what, 150 years or so since Freud? Is that right? Something like that. Late 1800s? That's a good point. And so it is very contextual. But, and then I think, though, because like in the late 1960s, right, we had the sexual revolution. It was 60s and 70s, the sexual revolution. And yet here we are, still very repressed. So
Yeah.
we're still not winning.
Yeah.
What to do, I guess. I do want to ask this because I had a conversation with a guy. Max Carey is his name. Super phenomenal guest. He made a movie called Touch Kink. That's what it's called. And in this, he goes to a show in Los Angeles, like a kink show, a bondage show in Los Angeles, and talks to various people there. And I asked him this question. I want to ask you: is anything really a sexual taboo anymore? Because like you could probably get anime or videos of just about anything. Is anything truly a taboo?
Yeah, I mean, you can get turned on by anything, to be honest. Like food, like a table. Like I've gotten guys who are like attracted, or they get turned on by soap.
By soap.
Anything. I mean, for the most part, a lot of times, people's personal lives and what they're into are that's based on their world and what they see or what they believe or what they interact with, and that contributes to sexual fantasies that people enjoy. So yeah, anything can be taboo.
But all of us have these, right? I mean, all of us have some fantasy that we go, I would never tell anybody this.
Yeah. No, yeah, we all have dirty little secrets or dirty desires, whether it's vanilla or extreme. We all have things that we like to do in private that we would never tell our friends, our family, or even our partners, because it may be a little weird or bizarre as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or something? Because I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this question. Because all of us have these. Let me put the last two bits together. Because if nothing is really technically a taboo, and we all have these, what we would consider our own secrets, like how do we start to express that? How do we end up giving that to somebody else, whether it's our partner or somebody you call on the line? How do you begin to express that?
I think in terms of a partner having a partner who's non-judgmental, but I mean, that's also a part of being human too, when you're not used to hearing things that like a kink or a fetish. But I think just being open in terms of communication and being honest about what you like, and having a partner who's open to listening. And if they don't like it, then I mean, I guess it's up to you and your partner. But in terms of people with me as customers, they typically kind of test the waters out with me and see, what I respond to. And then some just straight up say what they like and wait for my reaction, which I've heard everything. Nothing shocks me anymore, but yeah.
Now I need to know what were some of the things. Now I'm just curious because now I'm like, can I get any hints? I mean, what are some of the suggestions? I think was the word. I'm like, what are some of the things you've heard that struck you?
The first is a lot of people who I've come in contact with get turned on by farts. Like that's a big
Yeah.
one that I didn't know
Yeah.
because one would assume that it's like a funny kink, but it's something that turns people on.
Yeah.
Farts, sneezing is
Sneezing.
another.
Okay.
So like if you sneeze in public, there may be someone that gets turned on by what you just did. Like feet. Obviously, I mean, that's pretty common. Certain foods, the way
Yeah.
you eat. Yeah.
So eating a banana or something, or huh?
Eating bananas. And then, of course, there's extreme ones too that people are into. I don't know the limits that I can say, but
Oh, go nuts, go one.
yeah. Age play is really popular. Age play,
Okay.
rape play is,
Yeah.
and I'm just talking about the extreme ones,
Yes,
and then
yeah.
you get the typical cuckolding, different types of fantasies that people are into,
Yeah.
and then there's so many. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Mhm.
I'm curious how much, especially when you talk about, like, rape fantasies or cuckolding. I wonder how much of this is just a desire to shift. I'm extemporizing here, so it's going to take me a second. How much is it a desire to shift, like a power, a perception of power? Do you get? I don't want to put this. Do you get like men who in real life, I don't know if I want to call it that, but men who would be like, powerful people in their companies or something, who go, listen, I just need you to take over, do everything because I need to change the power dynamic. Does that question make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm not mainly a dominatrix, but I do get dom calls from men who are in high positions or
Yeah.
even high in society based on gender, race,
Yeah.
and they want to take the power, or they want me to take the power away from them, so that they can know what it feels like to not always be in control.
Oh.
And it's a power play. And then opposite, I'll get guys who don't have power and they want me to be a sub because they don't possess that power and they want to know what it feels like to have some sort
Yeah.
of control that they don't have.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
That is fascinating. I can see people in positions of power who would have this fantasy because they, a fantasy of losing control because because they don't want to have to be in control, but the idea of just trying to experience it, to see the other side, like that's, and is it for their, I don't know if I want to say like for their benefit, because I'm pretty confident,
All of it is
ultimately, yeah, that's for their benefit. But,
Right.
like, I would think that would end up benefiting society as a whole to see
think-
the other side, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of these guys, which I don't have like subs who I have all the time, but I know my colleagues, like they have subs where these guys have been with these dominatrix for years, and it's what
wow.
keeps them sane. Like
Yeah.
it keeps them balanced, and people don't understand that sex work it does keep certain people balanced, and yeah, I mean it's a really interesting it's interesting to see how people utilize our services.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with power play.
Definitely. Yeah, and I want to make absolutely crystal clear too. I am a huge supporter of sex workers. Like, totally agree with you. I think that having that ability to whether it's acting out fantasies or whatever, just getting just getting frustrations out, I think is important.
Yeah.
Even if that's all it is, And I think the main reason I'm such a big supporter of sex work is because you can look around us and just go, listen, you seem really frustrated. Like, go and like have a moment alone. I think we can just look at our government right now and go, could you people just have like a moment alone? Just a moment alone. If you
Yeah.
want us to send some people in, you know?
No, yeah, I agree. I agree. And I actually do phone sex, and that people would think that that's not popular anymore, but it is. And because people have access to it, they'll call before meetings,
Oh, perfect.
major meetings, just to get out the
Yeah.
tension, and then I can set them straight, and then they go into their meeting and then people contact us before big major events in their life to release the tension, that they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could all. I wish we could all embrace it. I guess. I wish we could all
I do
embrace
too.
that. We have physicality, and that's just how it works. Actually, I'm going to divert a little bit, if you don't mind,
Yeah, I don't mind.
because I know, right? It's my show, right? No, because if you look at, I'm going to go back into religion just briefly.
Oh yeah.
Right,
Sure.
because Christianity teaches that the earth in itself, ultimately, the earth is bad in some way, right? It's that the physical world is bad. And I think that's part of the reason why we see so many people go, oh, yeah, well, you shouldn't like your body, you shouldn't adore your body. And I think this flows outward into many different ways. I think it's flowed into racism and sexism. In fact, actually, I'm going to say I think it flows into why Christianity hates people like me so much, people who are transgender, because I'm embracing a physicality that they think is wrong, is bad. So give me a quick answer, 20 words or less. Doesn't have to be quick. Is embracing your physicality? I mean, it's beneficial, isn't it?
It is. It is because it's a part of what makes you human, but it's something that people don't like to acknowledge, especially Christians. Yeah, I think it is, and it's something that you need to do to embrace your full humanity.
Ooh,
Yeah.
embrace your full humanity. Ooh, that's a good phrase. I love that. And I think that's
Yeah.
true. That was more than 20 words, I think, too. But
I tried to keep it short too.
no. But I think that's truth. Embracing your full humanity. So true.
Yeah.
I got it. So I'm curious. So a lot of your work is in learning how to drop these constraints that we find. So, embracing your physicality. How do you get started on that? How do you? Yeah, let me just leave it at that. Put a question mark. How do you get started on that?
How do I, or just anyone who's interested
I'm sorry.
in embracing
Yeah,
themselves? Oh no,
you the
there's-
general. Yeah, how would a listener? Thank you for focusing my question. How would a listener start embracing? Actually, you know what? Most of the listeners here are either going to be LGBTQ, or adjacent, and for what it's worth, we get shoved into this taboo, shoved into figuring out social norms from a very early age. But
Yeah.
so what's advice that you could give, I guess, to somebody who is struggling with social norms, gender norms, whatever it might be, embracing your humanity?
Yeah, I think having compassion towards yourself and what you were raised to believe, and also acknowledging it, even if it's good, bad, whatever it makes you feel, acknowledging that you have these feelings and that it's valid, and to not talk about it, because not talking about it and suppressing it will only make it worse. And finding someone who you feel comfortable with, speaking more about it is the first step. I get a lot of customers who come to me, and I'm their first person that they come out as gay or sexual.
Interesting.
And yeah, I mean, they've confided in me because I'm a safe space. And yeah. So just vocalizing it first is the first step, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. One of the like the first steps that I see in terms of gender transition, I mean, I realize these are very different, but I'm going to come to a real
Yeah.
point. I think one of the first steps in gender transition is actually accepting that that you're transgender, and it doesn't have to be being transgender. I think just in general in the rainbow, the the hardest step is saying, okay, I am either L, G, B, Q, T, or Q, and being able to move through that. Is that along the lines of what you're saying? Be the first that voice of acceptance from inside.
Yeah. Verbally saying I am into this, or I enjoy having sex with other men. Like this is what I like,
Yeah.
and I'm not ashamed of it. And yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish up. I did,
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah. I mean, just accepting that there's no good or bad parts of you. It's just parts that make you who you are, and it's a part of your journey, and to just accept it.
yeah. You mentioned the voice in particular, vocalizing. Why is that? Why
Yeah.
is the voice? Why is vocalizing important?
I think it's important because you actually hear yourself. It's a confirmation of what you've been thinking, but you haven't had the confidence of saying out loud, either to yourself or me or anyone else in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. So it's really see because I've been thinking of it as an acceptance, but I love how you're reframing it for me as like affirming yourself by vocalizing
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
I never thought about
Yeah.
that. That's really good. Can I use that?
Sure. Go ahead.
Wow. Because I think that would be ridiculously powerful to the ability to say, I am such and say it to whether it's you're saying it to other people or if you're looking in the mirror. I don't even care. But yeah, I can see that
Yeah.
vocalization being confirmation, affirmation. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
What a great point. Because I think that when we do these sorts of things, when we can affirm ourselves, when we accept who we are, and embrace our full humanity, I'm going to keep using that. Yeah, I think ultimately it makes the world a better place.
I do too. No, yeah, I think sexuality is something. It's a part of our humanity that for some reason we just don't accept, and that's one of the missing pieces, in my opinion, to moving forward is embracing that part that people just don't like to touch on or suppress. Yeah. And it's something that we all have in common. Like we all have sex, we
Right.
all have dirty secrets. It's just what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious because I had this conversation with somebody else who founded a sex toy company, like an inclusive sex toy company, and
Yeah.
we had both said, yeah, everybody has sex, everybody wants sex, and I guess then we thought about it afterward, and we said, well, but then there are people who identify as asexual. Just out of curiosity, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think too, accepting that you don't have to have sex to experience pleasure. There are other forms of intimacy that you can gain, or other forms of pleasure that doesn't always have to be about the physical part as
Right,
well.
right.
Pleasure can be in the mind. It can be what you say or what you hear, as opposed to giving or receiving physical pleasure from someone else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
that reframed something else for me. I guess I always assumed, and maybe this is always been a poor assumption, but I always assumed that asexual meant, the way I think of it is that you don't. Let me take a step back. Because my whole life I've always thought of myself as bisexual, and then I came up with a better term came out, pansexual, because I've always just found beauty in all over the place. I mean, I don't care about, parts or gender or but I can usually find beauty everywhere. And so part of the way that I've thought about my own theory of gender is that it's expressing the beauty. It's expressing our standards of beauty to the world. And of course, if you are repressing something, you're trying hard not to express said beauty or respond to the beauty, whatever. So I've thought of asexual people as not seeing beauty in anybody. I'm not sure if that's the case. You just mentioned that it could be they just get pleasure other than through physical intimacy, and that's another reframing that I do.
Maybe so.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. That's just that was the first thing that came to mind.
No, it was beautiful. Well, because I kind of struggle with the idea of somebody being asexual, because I go, but sex is so great. Why would you want to turn that off? And so I don't, I struggle with that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, yeah, that's what you got. But I don't know. So I'm curious too. So some of, I'm trying to remember how it was put on your website, because you had mentioned authenticity. Mm-hmm. How does authenticity play into all of this?
Yeah, well, I find that a lot of my customers wear a mask. They are with me. They don't act the same with those in their real life. So they walk around portraying someone, but in the space of sex work, they are experiencing what it means to be authentic, and be themselves in a way that they don't feel like they can with other people. And that's why I think sex work in the adult industry is so interesting, because it does show a side of yourself, or it reveals the true self that you probably haven't seen, even with your loved ones, that you can't really share. And I find that too. I get a lot of Christians, a lot of guys from conservative backgrounds, where they are expressing one form of authenticity with their group, and then when they come to me, they are their true selves in a space that they feel comfortable. Yeah.
Maybe a dumb question. Why is authenticity why is authenticity important? I almost said impressive. Like, why is it important?
No, yeah, it's important because it allows you to not wear a mask, not feel like you can't say or do something because of other people. When you walk around owning who you are, there are no secrets. There are you don't walk around feeling uptight and feeling cautious. You are free. And sex workers are free. And I think I think a lot of people have, and I know it's not everyone, but I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with our industry because we are authentic in a way that others don't have the confidence to do, especially when it comes to sex. Yeah.
Oh, I think
So
that's
that's important.
yeah. No, I think that's so true. I think a lot of the backlash against the queer community in general, and I don't know if you include yourself in that, I'm just throwing this out, but
Yeah.
I think that much of the backlash comes from I don't know if it's fear of authenticity or envy of the confidence somebody has in order to express who they are. You have
Yeah.
thoughts. I'm seeing you have thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of people, especially from conservative or Christian backgrounds, envy groups like sex workers and people who are queer because they cannot be themselves. They are cautious of what other people think of themselves, and people who are in our community aren't, and they live lying to themselves, and we don't.
Ooh, ooh, that's true. Lying to
Yeah.
themselves. Ouch.
Yeah. They do.
Yes.
The ones who have a problem, the ones who don't, no, yeah. But
Right.
the ones who are vocalizing and the ones who have a problem are lying to themselves, and they are projecting it onto us.
Oh gosh, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Shoot, what was I going to follow up on that? I'm going to end up having to cut a minute of this. So lying to them. Oh, I know where I was going to go. Because what I was going to say, I, as far as confidence goes, and envy and everything else. Sorry, let me get to the point. Humans make social norms, right? I mean,
Right.
that's why they're called norms, is because it's what a majority of people would consider normal behavior. We make these. And yet
Right.
we have people who are like, wow, I envy you for breaking out of them. Just break out of it. Why is it a norm
Yeah.
then? If
Right.
if we all want to break out of it. So anyway, I was going to go toward that direction. I mean, if there are people who are envious, why don't we change these social norms?
I think it's because they surround themselves with others who think like them, and they continue to believe what they've been taught. And as long as they continue to surround themselves with people like them and confirm what they believe, then I think certain people just aren't going to break out of it. But the ones who break out, like even me, like I went to a Catholic high school and middle school, and I grew up very religious, but I made a choice to step out and look at other types of beliefs and expand my knowledge. And I just made the decision for myself. But I know others who have not and just chose to stick with what they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess there's the definition of conservatism, isn't it? To hold on to beliefs that. But I mean, gosh, just to circle back, I mean, if some of our understandings of sex and the value of sex and the value of physicality come from 150 years ago, whatever, let's pretend 150,
Yeah.
like, shouldn't that trigger something? Shouldn't we go, do these still apply? Because I think there are a lot of unhappy people out there.
There are. Yeah, well, I think that's why I get a lot of Christian men and conservative men, because they are trying to figure it out in a safe space. And I don't know what they do in their personal life after they come to me, but I think that's why our industry attracts a lot of men who come from those backgrounds, because they are trying to figure it out or even acknowledge it in some sort of way. Yeah.
And a grand irony just struck me too, because there's so many people, because like the conservative community, sure, let's throw it out like that. people who would be envious of the confidence necessary to to come out as queer, whatever, those people, they're unhappy, right? Because I mean, they wish that they had the confidence, they wish that they could do whatever, they could express themselves authentically. And almost everybody in the queer community, like I don't think I know somebody from the queer community who doesn't have really deeply entrenched trauma.
Yeah.
Almost always we hate ourselves because look, we're not conforming to these social norms that are making the other people following them unhappy. I mean, what
Yeah. It's a
what the
cycle.
hell? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
self-perpetuating. Right?
It
Because if
is.
we go, well, you should really act like this. Well, I feel like hell. Yeah, but you should act like that. Well, look, that person's not. Oh, I know, but we're going to make that person feel like hell too.
Right. Yeah.
Great.
It's really silly. I mean, it is. It's like people make up these rules and people actually believe them, but once you break out, then you find out that that's not reality. That's their reality, but that doesn't have to be everyone else's. Yeah.
It's their reality, but I'm sure again you can look around you and see much of that reality is being imposed upon us. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And it's interesting because I mean I would hope the future is bright and that people progress and move forward like other countries. It is up in the air. I try to keep, or that's why I do what I do, even like with my podcast and just continuing to have uncomfortable conversations and hopes that things change and not just remain silent and not talk about it. Because there are people where I make, posts on Twitter or threads and people tell me to not talk about it and I'm still going to talk about it because we need to. We need to feel comfortable with our sexual desires and not acknowledge it. So,
Yeah. Because I would even say that's like the human experience that we don't. I mean, I'm including sex in that. Obviously, as was,
yeah,
we want to delete large portions of the human experience. I don't see any
yeah,
value in that. There's no value in throwing out much of what all of us feel.
yeah. I think a lot of it comes from wanting control too. I think it's like a power dynamics and wanting to control people because if you find out, like, even with me, like doing this line of work, I'm not controlled. I know the truth of sexuality. And if more people knew, then they couldn't be controlled. I mean, people are always trying to control, for example, sex workers, but this industry has been around for centuries.
Yes.
They can't control us, but I mean, they are trying to, like with the porn, um, uh, banning porn and stuff like that. But it's always going to be a need for our industry. But I think a lot of it has to do with control and yeah, power.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The, it,
that's what it all boils down to.
right. It brings up a question because since the new administration came in, there have been 4 executive orders targeted particularly toward gender. I'm just going to throw that out there. Targeted particularly toward gender. Have there been, or has there been movement toward controlling like the adult industry any further? Because I'm not aware of them. I've been, there's more than enough for me to worry about with, attacks on
Right.
gender.
Yeah.
Are we seeing that in this new administration?
We haven't seen it yet. I do know that a couple of people from our community went to the Supreme Court a couple of weeks ago, and it went well. I mean, but you just never know the future. I do know that it's a big topic in our community regarding the ban on porn and the sex industry. So we are discussing that. I do know that during the elections there was don't touch my porn. It's hashtag hands off my porn, and that was a movement to encourage people to keep that in mind of porn being banned. But yeah, we are still talking about it, but there hasn't been anything as of yet. Except I do know in certain states in the U.S., sites like Pornhub, you can't get on it. I believe in Texas and other states where
Really?
they've already implemented
Oh my gosh.
not using porn, but people always find ways
Well,
to get around it. But yeah,
sure, get a VPN, but dang, I mean,
yeah,
it's so
yeah,
ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And
it
it is
is.
control. I agree with you. In fact, actually, I on your website you use the phrase societal norms, and I've been using the phrase social norms. Social norm, societal. Ugh, can't talk either. Societal norms implying the hierarchy and construction of a society or a social environment. Social norms meaning more behavioral, which is what I've been talking about. But the hierarchy is probably at least as important. Breaking down and understanding why do we want these hierarchies? Why do we want these power structures? I realize I left you no question there. How about if I just
Oh, that's
stop and you
okay.
take over?
No, yeah, I mean, no, yeah. So I put it on my site. Well, most of my customers are men, and I I want them to get comfortable with their sexuality. I a lot of my customers, and I'm not going to say too much, but they are in positions
Yeah.
where it contradicts me, and they are in positions where they are
Yeah.
making decisions, but I am going to continue to recruit them, or just get them comfortable. I mean, some of them are already comfortable with their sexuality, but some of them aren't, and I'm going to keep pushing for them to live in their full humanity, even if they're in positions where they're trying to fight it, because they deep down they know the truth. So but I'm still
Yes.
gonna try
Yeah. I
to get them comfortable.
I agree. Though deep down they know the
Yeah,
truth. I
they
think they
do.
do,
Yeah.
and that's what's so horrible about it. To maintain
Yeah.
control on lies, based on lies.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
so
So.
you do have some women as clients?
I've gotten a couple on phone sex, women who are exploring their sexuality.
Yeah.
I would say I've been doing this for about 3 years now, full time, and I would say I've gotten maybe like 5 women.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's very rare
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
It really is. But on phone sex, they feel more comfortable opening up as opposed to being on cam or me seeing them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, have you ever had any transgender women with purple hair?
I don't know. I haven't seen them. Like on phone sex. Yes, I get a lot of transgender
Do you?
women
Oh,
on.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Because
yeah. I get a
I
lot.
might have volunteered, is what I was going to say, but it was. Well, that's interesting. That you do get a lot of transgender women.
I do. Yeah,
I
I get
wonder.
a lot of.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go
Finish up.
ahead.
No, go.
No, I was going to say that I get a lot of transgender women who come to me for role plays. Yeah, kinks, fetishes, and anything that they're into.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
that
which
makes
is
sense.
which is pretty cool. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so helping, because actually this is a great topic. I don't need this, obviously, but I mean, like helping transgender women express their sexuality in a more feminine manner. Is that?
Yes. Oh
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
oh,
So they do role plays, and I don't want to give too many details, but they
sure.
they 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 want to do role plays where they feel like who they are sexually in
Yeah.
a way that I mean they can do that with me. You know. which is, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful, Pepper. Just on behalf of my community, thank you for doing that, because
Sure, yeah.
that's amazing. I mean, on behalf of all humanity, thank you for doing this, but especially,
Sure. Yeah.
I've got it. I'm sort of surprised. So 52 minutes has gone by. Who knew?
Yeah. I'm sorry if we went too long.
No, no, not at all. I'm looked up and I went, oh shoot. I do want to give you I do want to give you a moment. Can you tell us, like, how anybody? Jeez, I cannot talk. Can you tell us how we find Pepper Cats on the internet so that everybody can take advantage of what we've talked about?
Sure. If you'd like to know more about the sex work industry, as well as feeling more comfortable with your sexual desires, I encourage you to check out my podcast, Spicy Spectrum, at spicyspectrumpodcast.com. We're also on Spotify, iHeart, Apple, all the podcast sites. And then if you would like to explore and feel comfortable exploring your desires in a safe place with me, I encourage you to visit designyourdreamgirl.com.
All right, Design Your Dream Girl.
And on those sites, it has my social media and my email on the main hub of designyourdreamgirl.com.
Okay, because I saw TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook. Are you still using Twitter? Is Twitter?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
I just use it to promote, to get customers, and I use it for what I need it for.
Yeah, I'll put it on here. I mean, it's X. I got to continue to call it X, but
Yeah.
there have been a few people I've been like, can I not put X on that? And they're like, that's fine. But if you're using it, by all means, I'm gonna throw it on there. So, gosh, yeah, this has been so wonderful, Pepper. I truly appreciate all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Actually, before I try to do any summary, with Spicy Spectrum, because I failed to ask you about that whatsoever. I mean, what are some of the topics that you tackle on the Spicy Spectrum?
So we talk about sexual shame. We talk about what it means to live in your full humanity, in your full sexual being, and acknowledging it. Most of my customers are men, and then also adult content creators from all different backgrounds.
Oh, wow.
And so I interview experts, I interview adult content creators, and then I also give my own personal perspective based on my life as an adult entertainer as it relates to what I've noticed when it comes to sexual desires and sexuality. And I just want to give people a different perspective, especially those who may not feel comfortable talking about it, and just give a safe space to just not change their mind, but just give them a different perspective of taboo topics.
Yeah, that is impressive that you're not interested in changing minds. Well, I don't know. Presumably you're interested in it, but that you're not going to go, look, you better do this. That's
right.
Suggestions are always more better received than commands, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's good. Thank you for all of this work. This is super important. I believe very strongly. This is my opinion here, but I believe very strongly that by, as you've put it, embracing our full humanity, that's how we grow as a species, and
Yes.
into society, and I guess the two are interlinked. But so thank you. This is good work that you're doing. Thank you so much for doing it all.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me and taking the time to hear my perspective and my story as well.
Oh, of course. No, it's been wonderful. I'm a little disappointed. I'm always disappointed when I have to do a summary and shut it down, but you do so many things that are very close to my heart. So I, certainly thank you for that.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Well, I guess, I'll go ahead and go ahead and do the summary. So I am Amethyst Herrick. I've been speaking with Pepper Katz here on Gender Identity Weekly, and we talked about sex, social, and societal norms, and one of my favorite quotes now, embracing your full humanity. So thanks to all of our listeners, and thanks again to you, Pepper.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thanks.
Absolutely. It was so worth it. Thanks for, we're just going to keep doing thanks back and forth for the next, 10 minutes? Does that work? It's perfect. Anyway, thank you again. Thanks to our listeners. Thanks, Pepper.